the incredible, the fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, come one and come all to a film you've never seen before. But remember, folks, no refunds.
Hello and welcome to No Refunds, the podcast where we watch bad movies so you don't have to. A Cold North joint. I'm your host, Ben Reynolds, and this week we watched 2002's Resident Evil, the third Paul W.S. Anderson film to be featured on this podcast.
Three-peat.
Joining me for this discussion, we have Dapper Tim Miller.
Hello.
And Patrick the Law Morris.
Hey, everybody.
Check out everything we have going on over at coldnorthpro.com, and if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review wherever you found our podcast. And now,
Resident Evil.
Deep underground, in a top-secret research lab, security has been breached. A deadly virus capable of contaminating the entire world has been released.
Oh my God.
We have to get out of this building. What was that? It's the brakes!
It's okay, we're here to help.
Now, an elite team has been sent in to stop it.
5 hours ago, Red Queen went homicidal.
Who's the Red Queen?
State-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
The corporation's keeping a few secrets down here.
But they have only 3 hours left before it begins infecting and mutating the whole human race.
Everyone stay calm.
You have to get out.
Don't listen to anything she says. She's a holographic representation of the Red Queen.
Maybe our only way out of here.
How is she still standing?
She isn't standing now.
No one is immune. Resident Evil.
You're all going to die down here.
All right. Well, that brings us to our first segment, which is the plot. And here we go to Google each week and we search for the movie, and then we read the plot synopsis that Google spits out for us. So what we've got for this week is based on the popular video game. Mila Jovovich and Michelle Rodriguez star as the leaders of a commando team who must break into the Hive, a vast underground genetics laboratory operated by the powerful Umbrella Corporation. There, a deadly virus has been unleashed, killing the lab's personnel and resurrecting them as the evil undead. The team has just 3 hours to shut down the lab's supercomputer and close the facility before the virus threatens to overrun the Earth.
Pretty much exactly on.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the part where they were leading, because they really weren't leading. But...
yeah, well, the one black guy was leading.
Yeah, the guy that got lasered.
Laser face.
He got the shit lasered out of him.
Which, by the way, I thought that was actually really cool because Kaplan was just barely not in time, which is so anti-movie, because movies are all about like being just in time. But Kaplan was like just barely not in time. He shut it down like literally a second too late, and then Laserface just got lasered.
He fell to pieces.
It's true.
He couldn't take the pressure.
It's true. Was that Clarence? Was that his name?
I don't know. Literally falling apart.
I think, yeah, that was Clarence. Clarence was the one who was Laserface.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Well, he's dead though.
He did do that cool move with the hanging and getting himself above the laser.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna make it at that point. I was like, all right, I can do it.
Lost the tip of his knife, but then
also lost everything else.
Yeah.
He lost the shit out of everything.
Level 3 is hard, man.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So very true. All right. Well, so yeah, I mean that like they're. I mean, yeah, I guess they could have put something about how they were led by fucking Clarence, but well, and then I mean, maybe they should have mentioned that fucking Mila Jovovich has fucking amnesia the whole movie.
Yeah,
woman.
That is a pretty large plot point that Mila Jovovich has amnesia.
I feel like they did an all right job of communicating it, though.
Well, but not in this plot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they definitely should have mentioned, because that is kind of a huge basis for the entire plot.
That is the entire plot.
Yeah, the fact that she doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Because if she knew what was going on, the movie would be no longer than 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have even gotten on the train.
She'd be like, I'm not going back there because I know what happened. So you guys have a good time.
Let's just take this anti-vaccine or the fucking antivirus, and we'll be good. And let's get rid of the Spence guy.
Yeah. Spence was the bad guy.
What?
Absolutely. Well, so those are the biggest things it's missing. We feel like it's pretty accurate. I mean, they could have talked about how they were fucking creepy looking undead fucking Dobermans.
So that was actually something I really liked, because that was Paul W.S. Anderson. I think that he's very obviously, so this is the third movie we've done from him, and it actually falls right between the other two. I think that he progressed as a filmmaker significantly, because he went from so bad it's good to just bad. And
wait, what was the second one on here that he did?
Death Race.
Oh yeah.
And then actually good. And like but like we've discussed about him before, he does honor source material a lot. And like he did that a lot in Death Race. And he does that a lot here, in the sense that the dogs were such an iconic part of the first Resident Evil game. The dogs jumping through the window. And he was really he was clearly intent on portraying the dogs.
It's true.
And a lot of other things Resident Evil wise. Like
the brain fucking zombie thing, which the CGI on that was so bad.
Was it worse than Reptile?
Yeah, I think so.
No, I don't think it was worse than Reptile. That's a movie from 5 years before, but it feels like this movie. Well, and I guess this movie did get delayed some, so maybe that's partially why. Because I'm just how it looks like it's older than 2002, because that's Mortal Kombat was 7 years before this.
Yeah, so
and it does not look like it was. It looks like it was maybe 2 years after Mortal Kombat or something like that.
No, it was. I think it looks significantly better than Reptile. I make that joke, but it does look significantly better than Reptile. But I did make note that it's amazing to me that the lickers in this movie look worse than the lickers in Resident Evil 2 Remake. All of the CGI in this movie looks significantly worse than
video games that are made in 2019, 17 years later.
Right, but there's a huge difference in visual fidelity between a pre-rendered graphic and an interactable graphic.
Totally, but I'm still there. I think that there's a lot to be said for 17 years of technology.
17 years, yeah, but that's what I'm saying is it's impressive how far technology has come, that now it looks infinitely better and it's interactable. So it's dynamic rather than just being a pre-rendered visual.
Yeah, I wonder what they in this part where it wraps its tongue around her arm. I wonder what they used to make her pretend there's a tongue around your arm. We'll wrap this bullwhip around your arm or something.
And you're really scared.
Well, I don't know what they used there. That's interesting.
I mean, to put it in perspective of how bad this looked, Attack of the Clones came out this same year, and the CG in that movie stands up way better.
Yeah, that's true.
That was definitely all right. So let's let's move on to our questions now, because I think that's we're teetering on the brink of the second question there. So let's move on. So each film we go through, we'll revisit these 6 questions to lead our discussion. And the first question is, how bad was it? I do think we are going to differ a little on this. Patrick, how about you start us out?
I thought this movie was really bad. I thought that like the production value of the entire movie was just so bad that, like, did you guys watch the 15-minute Uncharted fan film from earlier this year? Or I'm sorry, like late last year. I think the production value in that movie looked better than the production value in this movie. And again, you're gonna say, oh well, 17 years later, but like that's live action, that's production value. And I mean, I would say that the production value of The Two Towers that came out in 2002 is significantly better than the Uncharted fan film of 2018. And so
let's talk budget.
Yes, but this movie, it looked so bad. It looks like a fan film. Well, so give Resident Evil a bigger budget. I mean, I got a problem with it. Like they tried to stretch beyond their means, and I think that not only did the production value look terrible, but just the storytelling, and there's so much there that could have been done so right. It's like they made Resident Evil 2 instead of Resident Evil, as far as like not like an adaptation of the second video game, but like what made Resident Evil so cool was it was so contained, and it was such a cool, like, scary story. But it didn't really have a ton of explanation. And then in the second game is when they started to explain the plot and like really expand on that. And if they had done that with this movie, then that would have been really cool. This could have been a really, really cool, like, thriller horror movie in a really creepy setting. But they were so eager to get to the larger story that they kind of blew their load.
All right. Well, so now we've gotten the first 2 questions answered from Pat.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I just
how bad it was and what made it bad.
I just
so
think
now
it's a bad movie.
Let's hear what Tim thinks.
See, I'm not going to go as far as Pat to say it was terrible, but it wasn't great by any means. The CG was incredibly off-putting, and I'm sure even back then, if I had watched this movie then, it would have definitely it would not have struck home with me. Not to mention, a lot of the dialogue was incredibly corny, very, very simplistic. The plot itself was, again, predictable. And just, I don't know, it felt like they shoehorned together, okay, it's zombies, we're going to slap the Resident Evil name on it, we're going to put in a few things from the movie, and that's going to be about it. While the characters run around and slowly lose their blood and their clothes.
Question for you. Do you think Michelle Rodriguez is capable of delivering a line not in a cheesy fashion?
No, that's why she was good for this movie.
All right, that's a good argument.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, like, yeah, it wasn't great, but it, like, I feel like I probably had the most positive, like, I enjoyed watching it. I was like, oh shit, like a lot of the time. And I was pretty intrigued by the movie. Like, I was like, oh, all right. Like, I mean, yeah, there's like a lot, like CGI has not aged well at all. And I think that the single thing that made it the worst was just lazy storytelling. Like, super fucking lazy. Like, just like having there be like a moment where Spence realizes that he had fucking amnesia too and that he's the bad guy. That was the laziest plot driver I've ever fucking seen. Like, oh yeah, this guy we've been hanging out with the whole time just remembered that he's the bad guy. Whoa!
What? Okay, I totally agree with you that was incredibly lazy. I don't think it was the laziest plot-driven device or plot device that I've ever seen. In fact, I don't think it's the laziest plot device I've even seen in this movie, because what was the point of the Red Queen at all? The entire point of that character was to provide exposition dialogue.
And homage to Lewis Carroll.
Yeah, like that's it. It was so stupid. She would show up and she would be like, here's what's going on, audience. She would basically break the fourth wall.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, and well, that's so like literally one of the first notes that I took, which I've actually taken this in a couple of the movies that we've been watching. But what the fuck is happening? I was literally like, you're like probably like close to 40 minutes in before you see a zombie.
Oh yeah, that was weird, and the zombie makeup was really bad.
Well, and the first time you see a zombie, it's just literally the girl who's floating in the room that got filled up with water and her eyes open.
Oh.
And it took so long to get into, and like, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Especially with the like whole, like when she's like, she walks back into the fucking mansion and then the fucking SWAT team comes through the windows and shit. And she's just so confused about what's going on. And then where the fuck did, what's his name come from? In that situation, the cop, the other cop, Matt Addison. Where did Matt come from in that whole situation? Like he just randomly was in the
I wondered that too.
Mansion. I was just like, wait,
why is Matt here?
Yeah, that was one of those questions that I definitely asked. But yeah, I guess that should have been thrown into our probably unanswerable questions. Why the fuck was Matt Mansion? Well, I guess because he was looking for his sister, maybe.
Yeah,
he was trying to find a way in.
But how did you know about the mansion? Because I thought the mansion was supposed to be super secret. Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna go on a limb here. I'm assuming that he and his sister did have contact, and
good point.
So
that's fair.
So
cell phones
he probably
existed.
knew someone about it. Yeah.
Right.
So did email.
So Matt Addison was dumb. Like that was a terrible character in general. I know that we're not there yet.
Is hot.
His sister was hot. That's true.
It's black. Indra Ovi. Holy cow.
Yeah.
She is gorgeous.
I looked up a lot of pictures of her for research purposes.
I was just like, this woman is striking. In the first scene I saw her, I was just like, I don't know if this woman is supposed to be major in this plot, but she is very striking looking because of her eyes that have that like kind of bluish green to them. Oh shit, she was in Interview with the Vampire. I completely forgot about that. That's a weird movie.
That's a good movie. Tom Cruise did some weird movies back then. Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah. Brad Pitt did too.
Yeah. What was that movie?
Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, but no, Brad Pitt did that other weird movie that was like half animated. Oh God, it was so weird.
He wasn't in rotoscoped or something, or
no. So I watched it. I know that we're way off topic at this point. I watched it because I'm such a huge Brad Pitt fan, but like, everyone strikes out every now and then, I guess. I don't recommend it
tonight.
But no, but so going back to Resident Evil, it's like I had that thought of what the fuck is going on here, but then I kept typing and I was like, there's been an outbreak of this virus and they're sending in a team to try and contain it. And I was like, oh, that's what's going on. That makes sense. And I don't think that that's like, oh, I'm so good at figuring out the story. I think that is more, oh, this story is so incredibly simple that I can go from what is going on to, oh, yeah, I figured it out in a matter of seconds.
I think that was like, because, yeah, just going from the whole like meltdown in the lab to then Mila Jovovich waking up in the shower that's I think where I was like, that was the most jarring thing to me, is I was just like, wait, what?
Exactly.
Like we went into some industrial techno for the like after the brutal death in the elevator for Indra Ovi. So after that we had some industrial techno for a second with the title screen, and then we just went to Mila Jovovich waking up in a shower, and that I think was the most. I was just like, wait, what? Why now? Who?
It was very silly. Like
it was just jarring. But I did like and so that's I did make a note early on that the movie does have a very like it has the feel of one of the games.
I don't think so.
I definitely felt that, like, especially like when it was like, oh, we have to do this before we can get into this room, and it's like a lot of that reminded me of like the puzzles and things that you have to do in a Resident Evil game. It's like, oh, I don't have this key for this door yet. I have to go back over here and get this key and unlock the door before I can get into this room. Like, I don't know. There were parts of the movie that I felt like had like that same sort of puzzle ish nature kind of, and I liked that.
I think tonally, I think what you're saying is right. They did like the puzzly type stuff, but tonally, I think that it was much more in line with like Resident Evil 5 and 6, and way off from Resident Evil like 2 and 7 are the ones I'm most familiar with. But I've played a little bit of 1 and 3, and a little bit of 4.
I don't really feel like it felt much like 5 at all.
I mean, it's been a long time since I've played 5. And I only played it for like 2 hours.
Yeah. But I felt like it felt more like 2 than 7 or than any of the others, really. But that's because there's a lot of elements from 2 that they took. In any case. So yeah, let's move on to our next question, which is about a character, and that is, which character was the worst?
Well, real quick before we get to that question, I do want to point out something that made the movie bad, but also something that made the movie good. I notated the action and plot are in full swing, with a woman with large breasts in a wet white t-shirt jumping up and down within 5 minutes. This is definitely a Paul W.S. Anderson film.
Wait, who is the woman with large breasts in a white t-shirt?
She was one of the scientists.
Oh, the one who got drowned in the room.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Definitely Paul W.S. Anderson.
I didn't pay that much attention to that part.
Oh, they were hard to miss.
All right, well, let's start out with Tim this week for which character was the worst.
I'm going to go with the man in the chair, Chaplin, or Kaplan, whatever his name was. Yeah.
Oh.
Let me explain my reasoning.
Yeah.
Well, he let half of his team die in the laser room. That's strike number 1.
All right.
Number 2, he's the one that actually was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and actually turn this thing off without actually listening to it. He was like, yeah, don't listen to the computer program. We're just going to do this. So he let the infection out after it had been technically contained.
Ooh.
When they got back to that like central room with where the monster originally came from, couldn't hit the keypad for the life of him. Dude was just freaking out.
That's true, and you couldn't even say the numbers for the keypad.
Nope,
you're making a lot of good points.
Yeah, I loved Kaplan, and I'm sitting here thinking I can't really argue with that. Like, this Kaplan fucked up.
Oh yeah, he was terrible. And then when he goes to commit suicide, and then we found out that he actually was alive. I was like, damn it! I was kind of hoping he was gone.
Well, no,
because he's gonna fuck more shit up.
Right in the scene where he's gonna do that, he's like, he yells that they'd have to eat him, or that they'd have to work harder for their meal or whatever.
Yeah.
And so basically tells you that he's not going to kill himself.
Well, that's after he shot the bullet.
Yeah.
That's after he shot the bullet, though. Like, I thought he was actually going to put it through his head, and was like, okay, he's done. Goodbye.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they kept faking his death. I liked Kaplan a lot throughout the whole movie, but now I'm like, Tim's making some
I
good
do
points.
see a lot of Tim's points, definitely. All right, Patrick, who do you have for worst character?
Rain, I guess, but I'm totally biased because I can't stand Michelle Rodriguez. But Rain,
your reasoning besides the fact that you hate Michelle Rodriguez?
She always tries to look all tough and like rolls around. Oh, and she's completely she's completely invulnerable. Like, she just, how other people get bit like one time and they're like, oh, and then they fall down. She gets bit like fucking 5 times and nothing.
No, she turns into a zombie at the end.
I know at the end, but like 5 bites.
Yeah, it really should not have taken as long as it did for
Like
her.
they had a
I had
whole
a
Christmas ham worth of flesh out of her.
I had a note that says, "Are Michelle and Mila gonna les out?" And then shortly after that, nope, she's a zombie.
Okay, so she comes back later in the later movies, and I think that there's still hope. I think that we may see them les out together.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I'm gonna go with Spence because you're a pretty terrible character if you don't even remember that you're the bad guy.
You're a pretty bad guy if you don't know that you're the bad guy. But
literally did not even know that he was the bad guy through the first probably 80% of the movie.
But,
you really only you were only confirmed that Spence was the bad guy in the last 20% of the film.
And he dies 5 minutes later after he's like, I'm the bad guy. Oh, I'm dead.
Counterpoint though, and I'm gonna come back to what you're saying, Ben. But counterpoint, do any bad guys in any movies ever really know they're the bad guy? I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Fairly ham-fisted writing.
They know they're the bad guy a lot of the time, but they don't necessarily think that what they're doing is evil. Whereas that's the other thing, whereas Spence clearly even knew that what he was doing was evil. And only once he remembered, though.
Yeah, that's true. And also the fact that Spence remembered and then he was just so down to keep doing it. And yeah, Spence was pretty bad. And just not even a bad guy, but a bad guy, a bad villain.
Mm-hmm.
This movie did a really bad job in establishing a villain.
You would have thought if he'd had this plan ahead of time, he would have known about the security measures in the house that would have caused the amnesia in the first place.
You know who they really needed to include? Albert Wesker.
That would have been great. Wesker's in the later movies, though. It's funny because they they made this movie with no characters from the movies, but then as they made more and more movies, which they've made,
you're wrong.
What characters?
We'll get there.
Okay, but they kept going, and they made 1,000 of these movies, and
5,
6, which is a lot. But they kept introducing more and more of the video game characters. Jill Valentine is in the first 2 minutes of the second movie. She's already there. And then,
but you know who didn't direct the second one?
Paul W.S. But you know who did write it?
No.
Paul W.S. He's written all of them.
That's interesting because that contradicts some of the stuff that I found out.
Friend of the show.
In any case, yeah, it was interesting, but he did have he had a reason for that, so I don't know.
But then also, I guess I got to throw this out there for worst character. Was it Matt? Because Matt
what the fuck was Matt even doing?
Yeah, exactly. Matt was especially useless. And the only thing that Matt came in handy for was at the very end, which let's hold off on that because that's going to be my argument for best character.
Because he was actually able to punch in the code when fucking Kaplan was freaking out too much.
That's makes him inadvertently the worst character because while his intentions were good, there were more zombies on the other side.
You're right there. You are right there.
Exactly.
I laughed at that part. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, more zombies. They're fucked.
Well, or no, actually, it was JD who punched in the code there, and that's how JD ended up dying because JD got grabbed by the zombies on the other side of the door.
It's unanimous.
Which JD was a German actor. I kind of thought it was the same guy who played fucking Toad in X-Men.
Oh, Ray Park.
For a second, I thought it was Ray Park. Then I was like, no, it's just some German guy.
Ray Park is a legend, by the way. Does not get enough credit for the things he's done. I'm just going to take 10 seconds to 20 seconds to talk about Ray Park real quick.
We've talked about Ray Park on this podcast before. We don't need to talk about him again.
Ray Park is the man.
All right. So, which character was the best / most compelling? Tim, let's start with you again.
None of them.
Well, wait. Actually, did we come to an agreement on who was the worst? Like,
JD.
Yeah, JD was pretty terrible.
No,
Yeah,
I think I gotta agree with Tim. It was Kaplan. I loved him.
Like for the most, like, yeah, Kaplan really did fuck things up for everybody the most.
Over and over and over again.
Yep.
Like, yeah, after Tim's argument, I do have to agree that, yeah, Kaplan was the worst.
And I loved him throughout the movie.
I did too. I actually had a note that Kaplan was the poor fucking Josh Hartnett.
Oh, I love Josh Hartnett.
Kaplan was the poor man's Josh Hartnett.
That I would have been so stoked if Kaplan was played by Josh Hartnett, and then I
But he-
would have told
nearly-
Tim to fuck off with his argument because it's Josh Hartnett.
Well, but I don't think that Josh Hartnett would have been willing to play a character who inadvertently fucks up so much.
Fair enough.
Hartnett wants to be cool.
He does it really well.
All right. Well, let's move on to the best character. Tim, we'll start with you again.
I'm gonna have to go with woman.
AKA Alice.
Yep.
Because, yeah, that's who
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
too. Patrick, do you have any?
I mean, I'm gonna say the best character. I'm gonna say is Matt not because of anything he does in this movie, but
You
because
literally just argued that he was the worst, though.
I know that's my thing. It's my shtick. No, because he turns into Nemesis, and that's fucking cool.
Yeah, but that's not like till later on in the series, so you can't count
all
that.
that happened in this movie was he started mutating and he was taken for the Nemesis program. And he was taken by a character from the video games.
Oh, interesting. All right, so we'll get to that in just a minute. But on a more serious note, I do have to go with Woman or Miss Black.
Ooh, Miss Black was really hot, but
More than just really hot. She was actually doing something really good. She
Well,
was
and so
trying
was
to
Alice.
expose Umbrella. And so was Alice. And
and that's I would give Alice the slight upper hand over Miss Black just because she was a badass, whereas Miss Black couldn't get her head out of a fucking elevator door.
yeah, I did make a note about that. What did she say? Oh, God. Bitch, you are not an octopus. You will not be able to squeeze through that hole. Like,
And she didn't.
that was ridiculous.
Right.
She was like, hold the doors. I'll squeeze through. And I'm like, that is like fucking the size of a dollar bill. Like, what?
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, same way, no way.
Yeah, I saw your titties bouncing earlier.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're in agreement pretty much then. It sounds because I mean I think Woman / Alice, because she's such a badass, does get the and that jump kick she does with the fucking security guard and stuff.
That was
And then when she kicks the fucking Doberman and shit too.
The wall kick was
that
fantastic.
that was a really nice homage to Resident Evil 4. Paul W.S. Anderson does a great job of paying tribute.
Absolutely. Well, there wasn't a Resident Evil 4 to pay tribute to yet, so don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you're right. Whoa.
There was
They
only a
really
Resident.
scooped this one up fast. Like, Resident Evil came out in 96, and this movie must
97.
have gone into
Oh no, 96. You're right.
production in like
97.
in like 2000.
Nope, it went into production in 97.
Seriously?
So immediately then.
Holy shit! Yeah,
In
they
any-
picked up.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I also I made a note that about how the industrial techno reminded me of the Matrix, and there were a lot of things where I was like, oh, they're totally trying to kind of
Well,
jump on that Matrix, because the Matrix was still pretty popular at this point, and because
the
it's
sequels were on the
99.
way.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, the industrial techno especially. But one of the things, oh man, I can't, that's the soundtrack is actually pretty good. We'll get there later.
There were a lot of movies in this time that were really trying to emulate that style, like the aesthetic industrial techno of the Matrix. And none of them did it well. And honestly, if you look at it completely like, I don't know. If you look at The Matrix without the context of how badass the movies are, they look really dorky.
Well, and really the only one that was that good was the first one.
Reloaded's
The
pretty
second
good.
two are-
Revolutions, I'll give you, is bad, but Reloaded's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say we could probably do both of the sequels on this podcast, but in any case,
I would love to, because I really enjoy Reloaded.
Let's do it.
eventually. All right, well, let's take care of our last two questions. Was it so bad it was good?
No.
I'm gonna go with yes.
It wasn't bad, but I don't think it was bad enough to make it good. But I don't think it was terrible. Like, I'm kind of in between both of you on this.
I think that Mortal Kombat was so bad that it was good. But this movie was, like, if you're just looking at the scale, Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil was better than Mortal Kombat. But it like, Resident Evil crossed out of that threshold of, like, it crossed the threshold of, it's no longer so bad that it's good. It's just a bad movie. And then he kept growing as a filmmaker and eventually made Death Race, which was badass.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun watching it. Like, I wouldn't watch it again, like, right away or anything, but I could see myself watching it again, like, and having fun watching it. I mean, but that's like, I really like I like the Resident Evil story, and it like, while it's like a separate story, it's it's still connected into that, and it's like you said, where in the later movies you start to get like more of the characters from the games and stuff like that. And so I don't know, I would say that it was so bad it was good.
The main reason I can't give it a pass is there was too much sit down time. Like, there was too much of the characters just sitting around talking, planning, and what to do next.
There was a lot of sitting. That was strange.
For a zombie movie where they're constantly in danger, I felt like that wasn't very appropriate. So
there was sitting when Kaplan was trying to, like, hack into during the laser scene. There was sitting when they were in the, like, on the pipes above the zombies in the sewer. There was sitting when they were, like, trying to, when the Red Queen let the liquor, when they realized Spence was a bad guy. There's a lot of there was sitting on the train. There's a lot of
We're sitting right now.
Yeah, we're sitting right now.
Oh my God, we're in Resident Evil.
Too much sitting in this movie. 0 out of 10.
All right, so would it have been better as a Netflix/HBO series? I mean, obviously yes. Like, a fucking movie, a TV series about the Resident Evil, like, outbreak would be fucking incredible.
I'm gonna bring, this is gonna be semantics, and it's gonna establish a precedent for this question moving forward. Are we asking about if Resident Evil would be a better miniseries than this movie was, or are we asking if this movie specifically would be better stretched out into a miniseries? Because if we're asking about Resident Evil being a better miniseries, absolutely. But would I like this movie to have been stretched out into a miniseries? Fuck no.
I don't think you could. If you're talking about this one specific instance, like, of them just going into the hive, I can't see them making a whole season of a show out of it.
No, yeah, there could only be like a few episodes at most. I mean, there would have to be more before and after, probably, which I would be very okay with.
You would be okay with specifically this interpretation and this story being told as a miniseries?
I mean, I don't think we need to set any precedents here. I think we can always hash this out with
I
the
guess
question.
You're right. I guess you're right.
But, like, that's, I mean, yeah, like, would I want to, like, I mean, I think they wouldn't have had to be, like, as lazy and, like, dumb with, like, Spence just forgot he was the bad guy and, like, dumb shit like that. If they had more time, like that's like,
they could have made him remember way earlier and have him just, like,
and because that's the thing, is, like, Spence could have easily remembered, like, right away that he was the bad guy and just been hiding it from everybody or something.
Which would have
probably made it a better movie. It's like I said, it was a very lazy plot device.
It would have been very Bane from the Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah.
But no, that, and I guess, yeah, you're kind of selling me on that. They could have explored more with Spence and had him be more treacherous, which would have established.
We could have even had a fucking episode where Alice and Spence get married, and then we could have had an episode with Miss Black talking to Alice and setting up that they were going to steal the thing, and we could have had an episode where in that same episode, Spence could have listened to their conversation. There's a lot of things that we just got really fast scenes to explain, or weird little flashbacks to remember that could have been flushed out and actually oh, so that's what happened.
Question for you.
Could have seen Alice pass out and hit her head and not been why the fuck is Alice just waking up in a shower?
Yeah. Question
and also,
for you, though.
What was that weird little scar thing on her shoulder? They never explained that, and I thought they were going to.
Question for you. Okay. Do you think that it was intentional that Alice was never named until the second movie? Because if it was intentional, why? Because she's not a significant character from the games. She's an original character for the movies.
I mean, I don't think that it was significant. I don't think I don't. I mean,
do you think it was intentional?
I think it probably was by Paul W.S. Anderson at the time, but I think that he decided against it. My guess is that he was thinking about having her be Ada instead of Alice.
Ah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, that could have worked too.
Then Resident Evil 2 came out, and he was like, "Oh, I can't have this be Ada."
Darn.
That based on what I've read, that's the only thing I could really think of.
All right, that would have been really cool. That would have been way better. I would have been way into that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not sure. All right, well, now we get to our favorite topic of every week, which is the half-assed internet research.
I'm looking forward to this one this week. I look forward to it every week, but especially this week because this movie is fraught. It's ripe.
So we'll start out with some box office info for you. So the budget of this film was $33 million. Patrick, what was the budget on all those movies that you were talking about earlier with such better graphics? What was the budget on The Two Towers? Probably close to at least four times this budget.
Okay, we can't possibly know because they filmed all three of them at the same time and just gave them one giant budget.
Yeah,
94 million.
Okay, Tim. God damn it.
So yeah, the Two Towers had 3 times the budget of this film.
Still a great movie.
But it's 10 times better.
Turns out you put your money where your mouth is and you get a great product.
All right. Well, so in its opening weekend, it did 17.7 million. I couldn't find if it was first if it was the number one.
If it won.
Yeah, I couldn't find if it won its opening weekend or not. In the U.S., it grossed 40.1 million. Internationally, it grossed 62.3 million for a total of 102.9 million.
Wow.
It was.
They did pretty good.
It's definitely and that's why there were so many sequels because it was successful.
They keep going and they keep making money, and I don't know how people keep watching these movies in theaters and saying, "Yeah, this is an acceptable movie to put in theaters."
There's a lot worse movies in theaters.
That's
true.
All right, so like we discussed already earlier, the game was optioned as a film in 1997. Sony. It was originally. The film rights were purchased by a German company, Constantine Film, and so they ended up doing most of the principal shooting in Germany, actually. But then Sony got back in as the distributor for it, which would make sense since it is a Capcom Sony product. The game was.
Actually, the game was specifically Capcom, and Sony just had an exclusivity deal for like a minute, and then Resident Evil 2 was released on N64 and ported to GameCube later on.
Yeah, but initially, like at the point when this movie started, Sony was still involved. And that's why Sony ended up as the distributor.
It was very closely, like Resident Evil 2 Resident Evil has always been very closely tied with Sony and PlayStation.
So after George A. Romero directed a live-action ad for Resident Evil 2 that only aired in Japan, Sony was impressed enough that they brought him on to write the screenplay for the film. Romero's script was like more than loosely based on the first game, apparently, but it was ultimately rejected because they thought that if they made that film, it would be rated NC-17, and Sony also felt like by the time the film came out, the story would be dated and boring because people would have been playing the story since 1996, and then initially the movie was supposed to come out in 2001. So it would have been a 5-year-old story at that point, and people thought it would have been dated and boring. And so Sony wanted to do something that was an original story. So then they eventually, Paul W.S. Anderson was the third person that they brought in to write the script. He ended up directing it as well. He was brought in because of the commercial success of Mortal Kombat.
Ah, nice.
Well, there we go.
And so after playing the first game, Anderson saw the cinematic potential in it and wrote a script titled Undead, which he described as a ripoff of the game, apparently. And he also stated that the film would not include any tie-ins with the video game series, as underperforming movie tie-ins are too common, and Resident Evil of all games deserved a good celluloid representation. So that is why he did not include more characters from the game.
Interesting.
Another little thing, David Boreanaz, the dude from fucking Angel and like Bones.
Nice.
He was originally supposed to play Matt Addison, but he turned down the role because he wanted to continue to be in the Buffy spinoff Angel.
Well, he put his eggs in the right basket, which good for him, but also shame because he's awesome, and I would have liked to see him as Matt Addison.
The film was scored by Clint Mansell, Marco Beltrami, and Marilyn Manson.
Whoa.
Clint Mansell is known for doing he's worked a lot with Darren Aronofsky. He did the score for Pi as well as Requiem for a Dream. Which, interestingly enough, they actually used one of the songs from Requiem for a Dream in the trailer for Lord of the Rings, one of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, that song has actually been used in so many different movie trailers. It was used in Sunshine as well.
Yeah, and then Marco Beltrami is also known for working with Wes Craven, and he actually did the score for Scream, Hellboy, and then Hurt Locker and 3:10 to Yuma. And he was actually nominated for an Academy Award for the score on the Hurt Locker and 3:10 to Yuma. So, like, actually, this score was like fucking scored by like really fucking good people.
Hot take: 3:10 to Yuma, really boring movie.
3:10 to Yuma is fucking good, so fuck you.
Boring as shit.
You're wrong. The film was originally subtitled as Resident Evil Ground Zero, because the film was considered a prequel to the games, but the subtitle was removed due to the September 11th attacks.
Oof.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I would like to see, like, I'm sure someone has made this, but like just a conglomeration of just every movie that had to make major changes because of that.
How about video games too? There's a lot of video games that have had to make major changes because of it.
I mean, Spider-Man, they had to go back in the original Spider-Man movie. They had to go back and reshoot the last scene because it stopped, like it ended with him swinging between the two towers.
And there was Yeah, there's missions in like a Command and Conquer game that had the two towers in them. Yeah, it's
Twin Towers. We're confused.
yeah,
We've been talking
Twin
about
Towers,
Lord of the
excuse me.
Rings a lot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The Twin Towers. Yeah, no, that would be an interesting thing to see. So then the film in January 2002, the film was initially announced to contain an R rating, according to Fangoria number 2011. I don't know what the fuck that is, but okay. Interviews and commentary with Anderson. The movie was originally rated NC-17, and he had to make cuts to get it to an R rating. It was long rumored, even by Anderson himself, that an uncut version would be released, but it never was.
Do you think how naked do you think Woman is in the uncut version?
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that the uncut version is just gonna be a lot gorier.
You don't think it has full frontal? Because I feel like there were a lot of times that he was really wanting to go full frontal, both at the beginning and the end.
I think the only times that would have made sense to go full frontal would have been at the beginning, and he did show off her nipples.
Were there nipples in it?
You get to see a lot of side boob and some nipple in that first scene with Mila.
I don't remember that. I'm gonna have to go rewatch it. So I guess the answer is yes. I would go back to this movie.
Oh God.
Yeah. So I mean, undoubtedly there probably would have been. I don't know about full frontal, but I mean, there would have been a shot where just like unabashed chest.
Oh yeah, just titty.
Yeah, like there were. I mean, I'm sure that would have it would have included Mila Jovovich topless for sure. Oh. And then I think it would have also been a lot gorier.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So both Resident Evil and the sequel appear on Roger Ebert's most hated films list, published in 2005.
I don't blame him.
Friend of the pod, Raj, was not a fan of this movie. In his review, he describes Resident Evil as a zombie movie set in the 21st century, where large metallic objects make crashing noises just by being looked at. And he criticizes the dialogue for being a series of commands and explanations with no small talk. Seems pretty accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Pat, you're gonna like this one the best.
All right.
Jason Isaacs, known for playing Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter series, appears in the film as an uncredited masked surgeon. Paul W.S. Anderson has said that he is supposed to be William Birkin in the film's audio commentary.
Really?
And he is the one who says, put him in the Nemesis program.
I want him in the Nemesis program. I made a note as that was happening. Let's see. So I split my notes up by scene, and it's back in the mansion. How the fuck did Matt even end up in this situation again? Is Matt going to turn into Mr. X or Nemesis? Oh, shit, he is.
And so then Isaacs was supposed to reprise the role in Resident Evil Apocalypse, but he left the project for unknown reasons. I'm guessing that it might have been the fact that he got the role of Lucius Malfoy.
I would guess that he saw it and was like, wow, that first movie was dog shit, and now I have the opportunity to be in Harry Potter.
Yeah, so then the character of Dr. Isaacs, played by Ian Glenn in the film sequels, was based on Jason Isaacs / William Birkin.
Well, and I mean, poor Jason Isaacs, because where his character in Harry Potter really became prominent is when those movies start to get bad too.
I disagree, but
I do too. I can't agree with that. Those movies are all pretty good.
No. Yeah. All of the David Yates Harry Potter movies suck.
Pat,
yeah. Sorry.
You don't even know. And we're not talking about Harry Potter. We're talking about Resident Evil. All right. Well, so that wraps up our half-assed internet research. And since we don't only watch bad movies and TV, let's talk about some of the stuff that we have genuinely enjoyed watching lately. Tim, we usually start with you, so let's change things up and start with Patrick this time.
So I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's this YouTuber called, I'm trying to remember what they're even called. It's not Reykjavik. It's shit. But it's like documentaries, video game documentaries, and they're just incredibly high quality, and they do a lot of just really cool documentaries where they do a lot of research about specific video games and kind of tell the story of how these games came to be. And they're just really fun to watch, and I wish I could tell you what exactly they were called, but I will figure Gamers. It's GVMERS.
That would not be how you spell gamers. That would be Gvmers.
Gvmers.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so they're these incredible fan-made, crowdsourced or crowdfunded documentaries that are just really, really good to watch. So check it out if you've got a YouTube account. If not, sign up. It's free.
And check us out on YouTube.
That's right. We're there too.
We are.
Tim, how about you?
I've kind of been sinking my teeth back into a lot of Rooster Teeth stuff lately. I've kind of been on a kick for that.
I don't know about Rooster Teeth.
Red versus Blue.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
A turducken. What the hell is a turducken?
So yeah, I've been watching that a lot. I started Ruby, which actually isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And also their newest show, Genlock, which definitely recommend checking out.
Nice.
Fair enough.
I like a small sect of Rooster Teeth, and it's called Funhouse, and that's pretty much it.
I watched a little bit of Red versus Blue back in the day, but never like a ton, really.
You ever wonder why we're all just in this canyon? What the hell are you talking about?
I never wonder why we're here. Except for Fight, bitch.
So me personally, I started the Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
I've heard that's good.
Yeah, it's got a really cool like Watchmen vibe and a whole lot less blue dick.
Oh, that's a good thing.
No, but they use a lot of neat storytelling tricks, and I've only watched one episode so far, so I can't say I'm like that far into it. But after watching the first episode, I want to watch more.
Nice.
It was like I really enjoyed it. It just seems like there's a mystery, and so you want to know like about that, and then but the characters are charming and like funny and like fun to be around, and it leaves you wanting to know more about them, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and I really like Ellen. I'm blanking on her last name.
Pompeo.
Ellen. No, from Juno.
DeGeneres.
No.
Page.
Ellen Page.
I gotta tell you, though,
I like her a lot.
You sold me when you said a lot less blue dick. Because of all the things that I didn't like about Watchmen, I liked the blue dick the least.
But you know what I'm excited for that's coming up?
The blue dick.
Watchmen on HBO.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're doing that.
It's going to be so fucking cool, I think.
How much blue penis do you think is going to be in it?
Hopefully a lot, if they're keeping close to the source material.
Hopefully a
That's
lot.
what Zack Snyder was doing when he included so much blue dick in his movie.
You almost said black dick.
That's a different Zack Snyder movie.
What?
He doesn't let the public watch that one.
Oh man.
Indeed.
Well, so I
had enough blue dick for the night.
yeah, I'm not a fan of the blue dick and all that in that movie.
Yeah, that's fair. But you should check out the Umbrella Academy.
I think I'm going to, because that movie or that show does look pretty good. I've heard good things, and you said that like mystery is one of the things that I just really love about movies in general. Is like, or TV shows, is like when a show can deliver a lot of mystery. If it continues to deliver mystery and still answers some questions, I get really hooked. If it just keeps asking questions but not answering, like Last Man on Earth. Fuck that show.
Fair enough. Well, that wraps up this week's discussion of Resident Evil. Don't forget to check out our incredible website, coldnorthpro.com.
What a great website.
So great.
There you can see everything we do in one place. Listen to us weekly on our other gaming podcast, Hard Reset, and next time we'll be watching James Wong's 2000 film, Final Destination. See you next time, and don't forget, no refunds.